Hello, it's Joelle, and welcome to this 10-minute mobility sequence to help us get closer to our front splits. For today's sequence, we'll need a resistance band if you've got one, as well as one yoga block. If you don't have any, you can practice without, and I will leave a link in the description box below in case you'd like to get your own and make this practice a little more effective and maybe even more intense. So we'll start on hands and knees just to warm up the hips and shake out any little blockages. Let's take some circles with the right knee. Just go at your own pace here in one direction. Some of you might already know my 10-minute yoga sequence for front splits on a bed, which is a mix of static and dynamic stretching. And today we'll be complementing that. You can switch directions with some active mobility techniques to improve our range of motion while also allowing our body to feel safe into greater ranges of motion. So if you only have 10 minutes a day, I'd recommend alternating between these two videos. You can switch legs now, take some circles with the left knee, and I will link to the other video in the description box as well. Or if you have 20 minutes, you could start with today's mobility sequence and then add on the splits on a bed routine afterwards. I don't necessarily recommend for beginners to go the whole way into full splits every day. You can switch directions if you haven't already. And that's why I like the alternating option. But of course, as you get more mobile, that might be something to move towards over time. Great, so let's come into a push-up position now. Step the left foot to the outside of the left hand into lizard pose. Release the back knee to the floor. Tiptoe the fingers forward, then tiptoe them back and grab onto the front foot to pull back on it while you straighten the right knee. And then you can lift the back knee up, back into that push-up position, and we'll switch sides. So right foot to the outside, release the back knee, tiptoe the hands forward, walk them back, take hold of that front foot and pull back into your half splits position. So we're going to do two more on each side, stepping back to plank, stepping the left foot forward to the outside. Keep breathing. Try to walk a little bit further out each time, but just go to where you can. This is your practice. Every day might look a little bit different, so we're not comparing ourselves to anyone else or to any previous practices that we may have had. You might come down to the elbows when you walk forward, if that's accessible today. Very good. One more on each side. Left foot forward, release the right knee, walking forwards, bringing the fingers back, pulling back into half splits, just dynamically moving the hips, hamstrings, and hip flexors. And last one on the right side, walking the hands back, half splits, and stepping back to plank. And now we'll walk the hands back towards the feet and we'll roll up to standing. Step the right foot forwards about 2 feet in front of the left, let's say. Hands on hips, and we'll hinge the upper body forwards as the left leg bends, and then come back up with a straight back. So keep doing that at your own pace for about 30 seconds. See if you can go a little bit further each time, dynamically stretching the hamstring of the front leg. You might also want to see if you can bring the fingertips towards the floor. Working not just the hamstrings here, but some of the other little muscles that are important for splits as well, targeting really that whole area of the body. And then we can switch sides. So step the left foot forward, and then we'll hinge forward as the right knee, the back knee, bends. And again, we're keeping our back straight. Seeing if we can come just a little bit further each time, stretching dynamically through the hamstring of the left leg now. Couple more. Remember to keep breathing, reassuring our nervous system that everything is okay. You might start bringing the fingertips towards the floor. Nervous system is really key to releasing and allowing us to go a little bit further into our splits. So now take hold of that resistance band if you've got one, step onto it with the arch of the left foot, and bring the other side of the band to the right foot. So it's both arches that are pressing against the band. And you can bring your hands either to the floor or onto a block, And keeping the right leg straight, we're going to start lifting and lowering that leg, working against the resistance of the band. So again, we're going a tiny bit further each time. You might hold for just a moment in that end range of motion. Here we're strengthening our hamstring and glutes of the back leg this time, so the right leg at this point in time. And we're also stretching through the hip flexors as we strengthen that back leg. So we can switch sides, again keeping both arches against the band, lifting and lowering that left leg, keeping both legs straight here. You can also do this exercise without a band, but I would recommend getting one. It's such a great tool. There's so much we can do with them, and over time you can also work your way up to using a heavier band for an even greater challenge. I'm sure your hamstrings are burning at this point. I know mine were. Just take one or two more. Great, and then we'll come back to the floor, and we're going to place the band around our ankles and lie on our back. So you can set the block to the side if you were using one. So once we're on our backs, we're going to alternate lifting one straight leg and then the other. So lifting one leg, hold for a moment, keeping the core engaged, and then set it down and switch sides. So here we're working the front of our legs, so our quadriceps and our hip flexors. Remember, ideally we want both sides of the legs, so front and back, to be strong and mobile. So you can release that motion. We'll set the band to the side and we'll grab our block. Place both feet onto the block, roll back onto your back, and we'll squeeze the glutes to lift the hips up, hold for a count of 2, and then lower down again. So we can lift up on an inhale, really squeeze the glutes and hold, and then set down on an exhale. So we're going for about 10 of these here, just keep going. We're building up glute strength, which is also necessary to safely and efficiently stretch through our hip flexors in a split. And using the block helps to elevate our legs and hips just a little bit higher, so the glutes have to work a bit harder and give us even a little bit more of a stretch into the hip flexors here. Couple more, you got this. Give yourself a pat on the back for taking on a new challenge today. Maybe pairing it with that other video tomorrow. All right, so now we'll roll up. We'll come to a kneeling position, and we're going to put our left knee onto the block, and the right foot will step forward into a lunge for another dynamic motion. So we're going to reach up and over with the left arm, and then we'll pull back into our half split again with the hips over the back knee, keeping the back straight. So 3 more on this side, reaching over, and then pulling back with the fingertips on the floor. Again, try to go a tiny bit further each time. We're working both our hip flexor and our hamstring flexibility, and we're doing so dynamically. So this pairs really nicely with static stretches from the other video. And then we can come into our splits pose using the block. So like I said earlier, I don't necessarily recommend pushing yourself into your deepest split every single day. That's why I like to do so on alternate days. And that's where a block or even several blocks can come in really handy, either adjusting the height of the block to suit you today. You can place both hands onto blocks to hold yourself up a little bit higher. So by holding back just a little from our maximum point of stretch, we're giving the muscles a chance to recover from the day before while still showing them that it's safe to still generally move in the direction of the stretch. And so we'll switch sides. So the right knee is on the block now. We lunge our left legs forward, reach overhead, and then we lean back into our half splits. 3 more on this side, pulling back into your half splits, leaning forward, pulling the right arm up and over diagonally, stretching through the hip flexor, and then pulling back to stretch through the hamstring. And again, using the block isn't necessary here, but it can help us get a little bit more of a hip flexor stretch as we lunge forward. And it's time to come into our almost full splits on this side now. Again, holding back just a little bit. And remember to breathe in this pose. So make sure that you're not going far enough to be uncomfortable, just kind of flossing at the edge of discomfort for today. And I hope that you have been enjoying this sequence. Do make sure to hit the like button when you're done and leave me a comment to let me know how you got on, or if you'd like to suggest an idea for my next video. And when you're ready, you can swing the left leg around and come to take a seat on our block. I hope you'll consider trying the other video out tomorrow, which again I'll link below. Do subscribe to my channel for free yoga videos every Monday and Thursday, and well done for your hard work today, which will make a difference over time if you practice consistently. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon. Namaste.